Nail.
I'm up.
Oops, this was not smart.
Warm up, warm up, warm up.
Okay, give me a moment. Sharing links.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even turn off my auxiliary. When I say auxiliary apps, it's like BattleNet and Steam running in the background. Might disrupt the stream.
Okay, I actually see the 80s cartoons. There. Oh, hello, Meow. I'm always worried if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
I would just say it like a cat. Meow.
I know, and I'm worried if I'm saying it wrong. But yeah, we will be starting in a bit, but it's warm-up time. And here during warm-up, we will give enough time for others to catch up.
Oops, that was wrong.
Yep, my nose got itchy.
That wasn't what was wrong. That was just me typing the wrong thing. Your nose is just what it is.
Yeah. So my nose is a gaming superstition.
No, it's just weird.
Oh, Jay has joined us as well. That's two. Yes, our shirts today are from Night Vale. They're the glow cloud shirts. Yeah, and these shirts were among the shirts we ordered that were US sized. So we had to have them.
We tried to have them altered, but then it can only get so small without like
distorting everything.
Drastically needing to re-engineer the garment.
No, Andre, you are not late. And yes, thank you for appreciating our shirts. Our shirts are also glow in the dark, actually.
Although we've never really gotten to exercise it much. Beyond like the week we bought them, we kept running in and out of the room to test if they were glow in the dark.
And I think there were a few times in Nova.
That's true.
There will be lights, and then it will be darkness for the next set.
But then it was never certain. Like, was it really glow in the dark, or was it neon, like reflective under UV light? You know.
Show the glow in the dark. Then that means killing the light.
If we kill the light, then you won't see it because there's not enough light for the webcam to work. So it's not that strong.
And no, Andre, we are ignoring that.
It was a long day.
Wicked term.
I think this week has just been long.
Despite, well, for me, starting...
Yeah, you had a holiday. I don't know about you.
I didn't feel the holiday. I still kind of was... that day I started late. I got to sleep a bit more. But I pretty much spent most of it prepping food and stuff.
Yep, we are 76 episodes in. Strange.
Okay. I guess we start officially in 9...
I guess 9:10.
Yeah,
2 more minutes. Because we started late. Well, we started warm up at like 9-ish. So...
Hopefully, many of you watching will have stuff to contribute because this topic is a fun topic.
But admittedly, it's a bit more fun if you play tabletop role-playing games. So, I mean, we have our own superstitions, observed superstitions from gaming groups. But then, I don't know, have you found anything else to talk about in case we need to fall back on stuff?
No, I think we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this.
Okay. And I shall do one of my... I don't think this is a superstition. It just makes me feel comfortable. Let me sort my dice.
Makes me wish I could angle the camera down so they could see what you're doing.
Oh.
Hey, Lar.
Oh, wow, big fan.
Thank you. We do appreciate it. I know the topics can be weird sometimes, but it's 9:10 and we're officially about to start. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us. We talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, welcome back. Thanks for watching the show. We are about to spend 30 minutes on our 76th episode talking about
Tabletop RPG Superstitions.
So these are those little quirks or little things that you have to do or you feel like you must do, or else things don't go well or the game won't be in your favor and stuff like that. This ranges from actual superstitious practices to really foolish things, or just quirks that people tend to do that we've observed through the years.
Yeah. And then I keep thinking I don't seriously have major ones, but I'm sure there are like little things that we all believe in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do we need to? I don't think we need to do a one-on-one on tabletop RPGs, right? We'll just assume that you understand what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess the simplest thing is games like Dungeons and Dragons, but not only Dungeons and Dragons. Okay.
So we have a few lists that we found online that we can tackle, but I already see one from Andre.
Yes.
And this is one of the more common ones, which is...
This one?
Yes.
Andre shares, don't roll idly because you will use up the high rolls.
I don't know why, but this is a common one. I mean, you have people... I think the cousin to this is they test roll. They roll a number of times, and then once the rolls are nicer, stop na. Because
you might run out.
Oh.
And I feel like this leans more towards D20 systems,
Mm-hmm.
because you have your primary D20, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
almost all your rolls are based on a single die.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it lends to the illusion that there's a finite number of good and bad rolls,
Or at least
that you have in that die.
or at least it's like trying to gain probability. Like if there's a certain percentage of good rolls, then I used up the percentage of bad rolls.
Yeah. So I don't know about that. I mean, and again, because since we don't play a lot of D20 games, then I'm more used to rolling a lot of dice than a few dice. But I will say that, I mean, and I can't really illustrate, but a standard D10 set from Chessex is 10 pieces, 10 dice. And then you won't necessarily roll all 10 on every game. Unless you're playing Exalted, then you don't have enough.
Mm-hmm.
But normally, as I play through, and if my rolls start getting bad with the first dice that I keep getting, I put it aside, and then I will get another set for the next roll, thinking it will be better.
So that's still similar.
It's a similar
we're
concept.
running out of good rolls.
Yeah. That you just keep cycling through bad. I don't know. Then you feel like, I guess you feel like you're in control of things. Because not every game is like Dice Forge, where you can change the die faces. So there is that.
Yeah. So Meow has another one, and I will adjust this slightly.
Blowing on the dice and praying, which feels a little gambly, right?
Yeah.
But that
usually
happens.
In casinos, you have that to blow for luck.
Yeah.
Craps and stuff. But I've seen a few do that, especially when it comes to high pressured rolls. And I don't know if it's the gambling influence getting into the game, or if they just happen to also think of the same thing to do.
Yeah, maybe. I'd say Mitch says that in dice rolling for any game, she taps the table lightly 3 times after.
That's an
2
interesting
taps. It's roll, tap. Okay. So like if you're playing Sagrada or things like that if there are other dice, that may be an aspect to it. That's valid.
Okay. Andre shares another one, which is
Lucky dice.
Lucky dice and punishing the dice jail.
I don't necessarily believe in a dice. Me personally, I don't believe in a dice jail. I will cycle them eventually back into circulation, especially if I have a big roll for any White Wolf game. Then I will need more dice.
I do know some people have literally jailed dice that have been bad for they're now kept in a separate bag, and
Oh, I don't do
they're
that.
not used until further
Only
notice.
because I guess because we have sets.
Mhm.
Then I feel bad if I break sets because then I paid for these sets, so I'm not
Mhm.
gonna break the set. Because even like, and it's all in reach. Like my D20 set is this. It's always this one. And then like for the longest time, which is I don't know, but this is my Houses of the Blooded dice. But it's not because they roll well. It's because they roll terribly.
Mhm.
And given a system that embraces tragedy and drama, these dice work. I have a weird quirk, and this is me already. Like over time, I've invested in a
Dice
few dice
towers.
trays. I bought this dice tower. This was a gift,
Mhm.
but I find that my dice never come out well from a dice tower. I barely use them. I like super believe that they do not roll well.
Hey,
And I
you're
don't know why.
well. In my case, dice just don't roll well.
Toby
I-
in general believes that the dice hate
I
him.
generally have bad luck when it comes to dice, save for dramatically appropriate moments.
That's a whole other category.
It's a whole other ball.
That we feel like there is a large influence of dramatically appropriate dice
Mhm.
rolls, which does not mean successes.
So I've had lots of games wherein I have great dice to roll, but then the results are terrible. But then I've also had sessions wherein the PC is trying to do this, and then it'll be a small challenge. Okay, I'll just roll 2 dice as opposition. Then I roll all of them successful.
And this is Toby rolling as the GM,
Mhm.
not rolling as a player, but running the game. So his dice are the most dangerous dice because they can really turn either way. But I've seen it happen for me too. Like especially now that we're mostly playing our tabletop
Mhm.
RPGs online. So we're mostly rolling via Discord or other dice
Mhm.
roll apps. And the Discord dice apps we've been using are notoriously dramatically appropriate. Like they really roll the way the story will go.
Mhm.
And that
That's true.
tends to lead to complications for us as players.
Mitch just mentioned I don't have lucky dice, but I know people who are not so. So Mitch is talking about me. Yeah, we should show those comments whenever we're talking about them.
It's hard. I always forget to click, but there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So others in the list include so you roll out the bad rolls until you need the die.
There's that reverse.
Mhm.
Like you keep rolling, and then if it comes up one, then you can set it aside because
Okay.
you've rolled the one.
We have this one. Once you have a good roll, make sure you roll the die again soon, lest they get cold.
I don't know about that one.
I've never
that
heard of this
that
one.
feels very gambler-y,
Mhm.
right? That that you have a streak of luck, and then it's going to end at a certain.
Blind items. Okay, this one I think you will agree with. Your first set of dice is sacred. Never mix or discard them with others.
No, I don't think that because I've literally mixed. So
Mhm.
these blue dice are my very first set of dice, which is given to us by another gaming group.
Mhm.
And then it came with this bag, which is so worn already. The felt is
Mhm.
gone. But I have mixed in a second set of chess X dice
Mhm.
because one D10 set is not enough. So this has become my thing. And the fact that I have 2 colors of dice at all times helps for some games.
Mhm.
But it's also in in any game where it's X plus Y. So it's like attribute plus skill to roll. I
Like
get
different
from
colors.
one and get from the other, and then I roll that way. And that's just a habit, not a
Mhm.
superstition. I don't think it has any systemic effect.
Mhm.
I just like doing it that way.
Yeah, I realize I don't actually know which one is my first set anymore.
It's super mixed into your giant bag
I
of
have
dice.
a lot of old dice, and a lot of those were also dice I inherited from other people. Things were very different in the early years when I was gaming because a lot of people were very generous with things. Now I guess it's a lot more commercial, so people make special dice and all that, so it's not really readily shared.
To be
or
fair,
given
like
away.
even these chess X sets are not cheap,
Mhm.
and I would love to get like a full color set of the different colors, but that it's not going to happen. I don't know. I don't see them anymore.
So continuing in the list, always lay your dice with the lowest number facing up.
I don't bother arranging, but I think for the reverse reason, I feel like if you manipulate what dice faces are up, then they
Before
get
you
mad.
roll them.
Yeah, then they're gonna get mad at you. So that defeats the purpose
Mhm.
of dice.
The opposite is always lay your dice with the highest possible numbers face up. I know there are people who the dice have to all be the same number while you're not using them. They don't like this mixed. They'll turn it all to 10.
I don't. Well, sometimes I would do it here, but it's a game to like fix them when I'm waiting between turns.
Andre asks,
Do people give away dice to consider unlucky? I don't know. Again, I don't know. I have never given away dice for this reason. Then again, I rarely give away dice. We've only gifted rarely for certain friends.
We've given a few friends dice because we wanted them to have their own dice.
But they were new sets.
Yeah.
Like we bought them in Singapore and gave them sets.
And then I think the only time I gave away an older die was because the person really liked it. And I didn't think they'd find a place to buy that die again, so I gave it away.
Yeah, like
But
we're never gonna give away the bone dice.
In terms of people giving away unlucky dice, though, probably during convention events. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some who, I don't like this dice, you can have it. And
That's true.
yeah, it seems like a.
But
possible
will
thing.
the luck change? Is it like Jade, where you shouldn't buy it for yourself, but you should only gift it to others? Who knows?
Okay. Never allow anyone else to roll your dice. Sharing is not caring. Sharing lets in the monstrous bad luck demon.
Wow, this is a long ride. This is over on the Geek and Sundry website. In case you're
Yeah, but
wondering.
that sounds like a very gamer mindset. Don't touch my dice.
That's true. I mean, like we've been with some tables where like people are very protective of their dice. Like, you can't touch it between turns and stuff. Or the reverse, like they assume I am and ask like, oh, may I see your dice? And like, why?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Go ahead. But I do feel a little weird when people roll my dice.
I do know some groups wherein once a die is rolled, no one can touch it. Because, I guess there's a bit of worry that someone might try to cheat the values or something. But stuff like that.
I don't know. That sounds like a very distrustful table. So, and I guess because we've played in games where we need large pools of dice all the time, then the need to share and move dice around seems inevitable. Especially a lot of white wolf systems, especially Exalted.
Yeah. I think many superstitions are born depending on the system. And this one is one of the examples where it tends to happen. Wherein specific dice are for specific situations. A D20 for attacking, a D20 for saving throws, a different one for
Oh yeah,
skill
then
checks.
that's very D&D.
I know there are groups that do that. I think the closest we have to that is we have dice for genres. This is our horror dice. This is our spy dice. This is our fantasy dice. Only because we like the color.
Or it
to
looks.
match
I mean,
the
like
mood.
you play Legends of the Wulin, Toby will bring out the dice with Chinese character numbers on it. So
The horror games would have the bone dice. The sci-fi games would have that.
But man, the bone dice do not roll well.
Okay.
It's Rehan saying hello.
Nosebleed.
No, nosebleed.
Well, ganun talaga. Nosebleed talaga. New dice must be tested. Keep the new dice separated. Roll it a certain number of times to make sure that it is ready. Warming up and stuff like that.
I don't warm up dice.
Yeah, I've never encountered this. I've never seen people do this.
I've been just very excited, like, hey, I got new dice, and then I will use it in my next game, But where's that? And then like I've cycled through my D20 sets. At least the ones I feel are mine. There are only certain colors I like, and that's just aesthetics.
Okay, some have small rituals to prime it. So I guess this is similar to earlier Mitch's 2 knocks before rolling. Some people leave it in a special place, rub it against the tombstone.
No, that's even earlier. So Mitch is like she has a habit during the game, but this is like
prep
ritual. This is spells and incantations.
Yeah, I guess it's similar to how supposedly tarot cards should be kept in a silk cloth
and then
container,
cleansed with salt.
yeah, or
something.
kept with crystals near them and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. If a die is cursed because you've kept rolling bad, it must be destroyed while the others bear witness.
Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah, and that's
Expensive. Why destroy dice, guys? Dice are not cheap.
naming. Some people ask about naming dice. What do you think about naming
I don't
dice?
name my dice. Oh, but again, it's the we have so many dice. I cannot name them all. Each D10 set is 10 dice. We have at least
Mhm.
well, we've purchased at least 3 different D10 sets. 4, I don't know. And
But
then
isn't
like
it interesting that we never have named them? Considering gadgets, we do name.
I don't I have such a hard time naming gadgets. So I
But you
don't
do
bother
name
anymore. I tried, but then I don't know anymore. I named their SSIDs on the
Mhm.
for the internet, but that's it. Like I just want unique Wi-Fi indicators. So no, I'm not into this one.
Going beyond dice, we have superstitions, wearing specific clothing during game sessions. Like there's a team jersey or there's a specific shirt you want to wear for specific games.
We don't do this.
Yeah,
We just wear whatever's comfy.
I could imagine some doing this in the convention circuit only because they want to be identified.
But it also feels like are you because when you wear something lucky or like you have lucky dice because you're trying to win. I mean, no, I feel like a lot of these superstitions like intermix with like gambling superstitions.
Or at least they have games that lean towards that sort of an experience.
Maybe.
It's about being lucky. It's about
Well, I mean, like
surviving the
D&D does
encounter.
need like a certain amount of like winnings in the sense of surviving and
Mhm.
not dying in the game.
Positioning of dice, such as after rolling, arranging them from largest to smallest. I know this is needed for some game systems. uh, Legends of the Woolen or Weapons of the Gods
You're
required
sorting
us
all the
to make
time.
sets.
But even then, I don't even necessarily sort them in ascending order. I
Mhm.
sort them by clusters of like all the ones and all the twos and whatever, but I don't assume they're
Mhm.
in ascending order.
We have seating positions.
By your hand. Seating positions.
Mhm.
No, we've seen that. We've seen that people are like, whatever the quote unquote assigned seats are at the table, that's
Mhm.
it. And then they don't feel comfortable when it's
And
disrupted.
we've had that as well, wherein
Yeah.
we tried changing positions or sitting somewhere else because say it's a larger group than normal or new players who already sat down, so we decided to sit somewhere else. And then it does have that weird feeling.
It just feels uncomfortable. I don't necessarily think we can't game, but it throws you off a
Mhm.
little. It's also the problem, like Toby and I. Well, I don't think we. I mean, at home we have semi-fixed seats when we play board games.
Mhm.
But then when we're out, like we sit wherever. But then, admittedly, there's always a lot of problems with us sitting beside each other. It's like we want to be beside each other because he's my partner. But then we ruin each other's games, consciously or not. So I don't know.
Oh, well, this is mostly for tabletop games,
But it's mostly for
not
board
role-playing
games.
games.
More
Yeah.
for role playing.
For role playing, I know I used to have I must be near the outlet. Only because
But that's practical.
I need the outlet for the laptop, or prior to that, I needed the outlet for the CD player or the music. And then that's sort of where things spiral in terms of initial seating. Once I find that spot, I'll tend to sit there because that's where I can always plug in. It wasn't really a superstition, but I do feel it has become um, I guess it's a convenient habit.
Maybe because think about our Wednesday games when they were still in person. There was a lot of inconsistency in seating. For you, you're generally fixed, but even me, I get bumped off sometimes. Like, ooh, then it's like I have different people beside me,
Mhm.
which is it's just organic and it's not bad. We still game, but there are those slight moments of you're over there now.
Mhm. In my case, I can really feel it because when I do my notes, I kind of keep track of.
You
seating
follow a
position,
table order.
and that allows me to go through the turns better. But yeah, um, lucky dice, rolling dances or procedures. I guess this is a sports related thing now.
Or not even, because even Mitch's like tapping the table thing
Mhm.
is like a procedure for her rolling. That when you roll, then she does something. So
Or-
some
or-
people have or they have to roll in with a
Yeah.
certain twist.
or something they do after they release the dice in hopes of affecting while it's spinning. I mean, you have everything from crossing your fingers to doing Jedi hand motions in hopes of affecting the dice.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that's That is strange.
Let's see, what else do we have? We have playing special builds for luck or personal preference.
What does that mean?
I guess that means they always play the same character, or they're always playing a certain character type.
But I feel like even that transcends luck and superstition. That's just habit.
Yeah.
Or that's like
Habit
preference
or preference.
of play style and the like. I don't necessarily think it will drastically change the outcome. To even I was like, it just sounds more like rituals. Yeah, right. So it's like things people do. But I don't know if they're full on superstitions.
Where do
We draw the line.
these rituals begin though? I mean, do you think it's something some gamers pick up on because they saw other gamers do it first? Or is it, because the game does have some element of randomness and luck, you end up wanting to try using these things that are used in other luck-based things?
Or is it, like logical fallacy of post hoc ergo propter hoc? Because one thing happened first, and then the next thing happened after.
I was drinking.
Then I was
drinking
them.
water when the roll came out critical. So now whenever I roll, I try drinking water again.
Yeah. So is that a thing? Like so then people, then because it happened once and it was so memorable, then it keeps happening again. Oh, Ram has joined the stream and says he used to put his D20s in the freezer overnight.
Oh my gosh!
What does that do? What does putting your D20s in the freezer do? Because you
are you punishing them? Are they having a nice cold night before the game?
Or is it like those people, I don't know, who think cryogenics will like give them beautiful skin? So something like that.
Or cold allows energy to transmit better.
The
so your
chakras
thinking
are open. But they're dice. I don't know. Yeah, we would love to hear what is the reason for putting them in the freezer. What are other things we've seen?
Well, there are also common events that happen to specific players. For example, Urim is a fun example of how he will always find himself in a scene wherein he has to do stealth.
Because he's a super stealthy player. That's why.
And I don't sometimes even plan it in the games, but then the story moves in that direction, and again he will have a scene wherein it's about stealth.
To be fair, and we say this with love, Urim, but we wait for that moment where you will say that I will sneak into the building, or like, oh, he's going to do stealth. That's cool. That's a thing. But again, it's like player nuances. So now I'm really wondering the impact of system. And this is maybe overthinking it. But then, because a lot of, on the one hand, D&D is obviously the most popular tabletop RPG around. And therefore, most memes, stories, jokes about the industry connect to D&D.
Yes.
So that's unavoidable. But at the same time, because of the nature of that system, then so many superstitions feel it works with that. But then when I get to other games with more dice roll, games with just a very different play style, then maybe not as many superstitions. Some still apply, like don't touch my dice or stuff. But
I do think it also does connect to the system a lot, only because, and this is not to say D&D is bad in any way, but D&D convention event play tends to be about, let's see how far you survive, let's see how lucky you'll be. There's a very challenge aspect to the experience.
And that's naturally born of convention because you only have a limited amount of time and you want to maximize the experience.
If you compare that to, let's say, other games like World of Darkness, wherein it might be more about exploring this emotional drama.
And of course, our primary experience is long-term campaigns from the comfort of our home.
Or like, let's say it's a Call of Cthulhu game, it's then inevitable you will go mad and die anyway. So with those experiences, sort of what's expected when you play it, then the superstitions twist in a certain way. So like in Call of Cthulhu games, I don't know if people really have that superstitious approach of hoping for lucky dice, because they're consigned to the fact that the game is about
the game is inherently unlucky,
going to bad luck.
Ram says he has no idea where he got the idea. It's just that saw someone do it and he tried it a while. thinking you'll be lucky.
So has it been lucky?
Yeah,
Can you share instances where
are
you
there
noticed?
stories? Did your cold dice do better, or like Andre said over in YouTube, it just makes your dice look cooler?
Mhm.
Oof,
Have
puns.
there been players out there who notice that they're luckier when they roll with the left or right hand?
Wow, that'll be a thing. Or sorry, I guess it's easier to say your dominant or your non-dominant hand.
Mhm.
You know, to be ambidextrous in that analogy. I don't know, and I don't know if it's a thing. So it's funny though that there are just so many of these things. And again, it's beyond system. It's just also born of the fact that these are habits that are born out of weekends upon weekends of hanging out with the same group of people, and maybe they weren't even conscious superstitions, but then other people pointed out like, "Hey, you keep doing that, and what's up with that?"
And humans have this tendency to pay attention or notice patterns. So when you start seeing what you think is a pattern, or you start defining something as something born from a pattern, then you expect A to lead to B and B to lead to C.
And human brains are wired to create patterns.
So
and,
you might
define
have a
things.
player, for example, who likes naming their characters with the letter M. And out of that pattern, someone notices that their character keeps dying and might now start thinking, oh, characters with the letter M keep dying. And it's stuff like that, wherein it might be just partial interpretations of certain patterns.
Ram has an interesting point. Maybe it comes from RPGs using dice, and dice itself lead
That's
to superstitions because gambling and even to some degree, when you think about tarot and the like, that the whole element of randomness and chance supports the uncertainty.
And there's merit to this only because we have played games that use cards. And we
Yes.
never had a don't touch my deck.
That's true. But also because it's always like it's a shared pool, like whatever the next card is.
Yeah, and that never felt like a problem.
Yeah.
Yet when it's dice and wait, we'll all use the same die, it feels like such a
But also
thing.
because dice are like, we always say this, dice are like shoes. I mean, they're accessories. They're personalized to you over time. I mean, in the beginning, you'll roll whatever is available at the table. But then as you really get into the hobby, you will want your own dice. And you will tend to want to roll what's yours. And like, I'm not going to wear your watch. Wear your glasses.
Andre shares not the hand, but the flick of the wrist. So
yes, he has a rolling mechanic.
How you
Ram explains the frozen D20s were never lucky.
So, but I guess they were cool.
But at least they were cool. But he does say he had D6s that seemed to roll high. But then again, that just has a higher probability because of fewer sides.
Thank you for still supporting the show, Noel, despite not really connecting with what we're talking about.
Thank you, Noel.
Other superstitions.
Tomorrow will be fun. We just don't know what we're going to talk about. Okay.
Other superstitions. I remember there were some who were very particular about their character sheets. How the game is fine, but the moment they make a new sheet and transfer the information, the game starts falling apart.
Oh, I've never encountered that. I do label my physical sheets in the same way every time, which includes my name in brackets in the upper right-hand corner, which feels very academic, like very school, but it just helps me mark it. Then I'm happy when I get to do that.
Then not necessarily superstition.
Hey, Kenny, yes, you're late.
Not necessarily superstition, but there have been some strange moments of sudden power outages when we have dramatic scenes. Or those flashes,
dramatically appropriate atmosphere.
Yeah, those flashes of lightning or the rumbles of thunder, just as you talk about a dark force in the moment. Or we've had those moments. And
Toby has a very epic horror game because it was Cthulhu. It was a Cthulhu themed game, and then at the climactic moment, the power went out.
Just as the big bad was about to surface, the power goes out. And note that since I
was not in that game.
Since I run games with the laptop, suddenly I was the sole illuminated figure in the darkness. And that was amazing. Okay, Andre, ironically, I find myself lucky whenever the dice is of certain colors.
But have you tried rolling all colors? does it impact? Is there data to support it, or are most of your dice
That color.
that color scheme? I mean, we can think about it. Like
Mhm.
I've been mostly rolling these blue D10s for everything, but I do not feel they are inherently luckier or unlucky. But I do feel they are dramatic.
I've also
But these D6s are my most dramatic dice.
I've also had the attempt to try to game the luck of the dice. I mean, I remember there were times I'd roll, it's bad. I'll roll again, it's still bad. I'll get a different pair of dice. It's still bad. I'll borrow someone else's dice. It's still bad. And when the players use those same set of dice, it works fine. So I think it's less for me that the dice are unlucky, and it's just
You
me.
are unlucky. you.
And that's why I like games wherein it's only the players who roll.
Kenny's like literally pray to RNGesus on games with dice. That's fair. First, it's like random number generator Jesus. It's still the same thing.
Yeah.
Andre has had a few, but he gave them away. Okay, so you're
So you're the one
you
who's
give
been
away
giving away unlucky
dice you think
dice.
it's unlucky. And then, Mami, how do you like syncing your dice? Do you like in tarot aligning them to your energy or something? Color? I don't know. Feel?
I know I used to do that, not in any sense that I'm hoping for luck, but in the sense that, if I'll be running a game, sometimes I'll hold the dice and which one feels more appropriate for the game I want
Like,
to play.
to be fair, my first purchased D10 set
Mhm.
was smoke gray with red numbers. And I
Mhm.
thought it'd be super cool. But it wasn't because they were unlucky that I stopped using them. It's because I couldn't read the darn things. To be fair, these smoke gray ones
are a challenge.
are but work well against this yellow wood, which is
Mhm.
why it stays in this dice tower. I only roll it here, but I had similar D10s, and they were painful.
And the thing about dice towers is it removes your agency and how you roll things.
Maybe that's a factor.
Because admittedly, the way the human hand rolls dice can
'Cause
actually
it's just
affect
like,
the number that comes out.
is that satisfying? And then same thing, like I will have to.
But you get to see them bouncing around.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's different for everyone.
Oh wow, we actually on the very last part of the show.
Oh, 10 people! Who are you? 10 viewers who don't comment. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, we hit 10. So
Wow. Andrew's like, I think I've already given away 10 to 15 dice sets. Kasi unlucky, so I still pass on the curse. That's a lot of dice.
Yeah, so that's a lot of spent money.
That's very generous of you.
And I guess I will just view it that way.
Absolute generosity. Because like, see, I'm not gonna give these.
Yeah, and in some blog posts, I know I did try to document all the dice that I own. So that was a lot.
I had one because I had fewer dice to
Mhm.
document. So
I'm trying to
Thanks.
think of if there are, just to wrap up, if there are any superstitions regarding character sheets beyond the one I mentioned, where in the moment they transfer the information, that's when the game falls apart.
I don't know. And I feel like character sheet based superstitions are probably weakening now because so many, at least in our group, especially more of us are visually challenged
Mhm.
in reading small text.
Digital becomes the way.
Then digital sheets are awesome
Mhm.
because it's easier to adapt, it's easier to update, it's easier to share information
Mhm.
with the GM and other players. So
Yeah, but I do remember there were players who insisted they had to use a specific pen when they do their character sheets.
or they had like, I bought this pen for this art for this
Yes.
campaign. Then
And-
it's my pen
and-
for the campaign.
this pen or this pen and notebook is for this
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I won't use it anywhere else, and it's stuff like that, which is interesting. It has that sense of you give the small ritualistic actions to make the act of storytelling more interesting.
Are just people really changelings preparing bunks everywhere?
If you do dig into human practice, the idea of storytelling, which at the beginnings were sitting in a group sharing the story or listening to the storyteller, did have a certain ritualistic aspect. Whether it was the theatric wherein before we start, we'll have everyone go quiet, and then we'll light something, or we'll light the fire, or we'll light the candle, and maybe a lot of this is inherently human nature you know.
You throw salt in the fire, and I call together this meeting of the Midnight Society.
But of course, now that we're playing games, it's less throwing salt into the fire, and it's more I get my character sheet with a flourish, or I put my pencils in that specific order, or I lay out my dice, and I am ready. And maybe it's that. Maybe we're just tapping into these genetic memories of how storytelling is meaningful and ritualistic.
Plus, it's just we like habits. I mean, it's a natural human tendency to identify patterns, to create habits, to find comfort in repetition, and because it makes things familiar and therefore controllable, or at least, not too alien. And that can totally apply to games.
Yeah.
So,
And ultimately, I think there are things that make it more fun because we end up finding ways to add something personal or something.
yeah, I think the whole fun of superstitions is mentioning you have the superstitions at the game table, and then people will like start observing
The story becomes
is it-
more meaningful.
is it really have an impact? Is the way you roll your dice that important?
And when it does happen, you all celebrate. Yeah!
or
It
when
happened.
someone does touch your dice, then does the rest of the game really go badly? And the rest of the table is like, oh, it's because you touched his dice. Things like that.
So to wrap up with comments,
So that Andrew does stories of giving away his dice. So a Rappler reporter liked his dice, so he gave it. So again, very nice.
and then
and
Mameo
generous.
shares. It's like sharing some
chain
chain
emails. I don't know. Passing the bad luck on.
But yeah, so I guess that's it. In terms of tabletop RPG games, we talked about some of the superstitions we know that people have explored.
And we
or
looked at some
practiced.
online and didn't really agree with a lot, or at least we don't have personal experience with a lot of them. So I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing.
But that was definitely 30 minutes where we talked about it, and we had a lot of fun doing so.
And you hope you join us next time. And then, so if you have questions for future episodes or suggestions for topics, then use the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. We'd love to hear from you. You can follow us on Twitter, all Toby No Shade and RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, that's baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know what you think about tabletop RPG
Are
superstitions.
there any superstitions that you have not shared because you were afraid to?
Are those that you feel adamantly passionate about and you think that we should try them? We'll maybe give them a shot.
Do you even know of any group superstitions? Stuff that you can't do alone, but the group has to do?
I think seating arrangement is the number one. Guys, don't change seats. It ruins everything. We have our chi.
Or maybe they have a chant that they state, fight, and they start the game. I don't know. But
Who
maybe
knows?
you do.
Everybody has the rituals. Let us know in the comments. And of course, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Good night.